So, my Hebrews and Shebrews, welcome to our daily bread reading. We will be in Genesis, chapter 15 today. Let me check, make sure. Yep, Genesis chapter 15, Matthew 15, Psalms 16, and Proverbs 31. We got some ducks in front of us. How's that? Just try to give y'all something a little different to look at as we read through the scriptures each day. Just to kind of keep things changed up. First and foremost, I pray that this message would, this reading would encourage you to go seek Yahweh for yourself. Um, and so with that, um, I may make another video on some updates that I've heard of here in a little bit, and then after this video, I'll do a hanging with the prophets reading of our daily bread today. And so with that, um, let's get to reading our scriptures. And let me flip the camera around. Y'all watch the ducks. Bereshit chapter 15 verse 1 says, after these events. Now, hold up before I start. Yesterday we'd read where Abram had went and got Lot from where he'd been captured. And that duck seems a little upset. Um, Lot had been captured, and Abram goes back and gets Lot back and all of his stuff, and then plus some. And so, um, I don't know what we want to watch here. Oh, look, a squirrel. Anyway, so after these events are speaking of Abram getting Lot back. After these events, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision, saying, do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great. And Abram said, Master Yahweh, what would you give me, seeing I go childless? Seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, see, you have given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, this is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said, look toward the heavens, and count the stars if you are able to count them. And he said to him, so are your seed. And he believed in Yahweh, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am Yahweh, who brought you out of Ur-Kasdim, to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Master Yahweh, whereby do I know that I possess it? Now remember yesterday, or day before yesterday actually, we read that Yahweh told Abram, wherever you put your foot is yours. And now Abram's asking him again, how do I know that I possess it? He said to him, bring me 3-year-old heifer, 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took all these to him and cut them in the middle and placed each half opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds. Okay, now let me stop right there. This was a culturally accepted covenant or contract, I should say, contract between men back then. They would take an animal or certain animals. They would cut them down the middle. They would cut them down the middle and lay them in half, and each party would walk through the middle. And if you broke your contract with that person, that was a sign that that's what would happen to you, that you would be cut down the middle. And so Yahweh has him do this here. And he took all these to him and cut them in the middle and placed each half opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. And it came to be, when the sun was going down, And a deep sleep fell upon Abram, that see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nation whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterwards let them come out with great possessions. Now as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace. You are to be buried at a good old age. Then in the fourth generation they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. It came to be when the sun went down and it was dark, that see, a smoking oven and a burning torch, passing between those pieces. On the same day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your seed, from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river Euphrates, with the Canaanite, and the Kenizzite, and the Kadmonite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Rephaim, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. I love that tree right there. Okay, so we understand here, Yahweh has just made this covenant with Abram, um, by taking the ram, the goat, um, what was it? A 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and cut them um, down the middle. That would be from head to rear, just like we would see a slab of beef today. Um, but cut them down the center and laid them just like if they fell from the center. If you cut them right down the back from the neck all the way to the tail, and that fell, each piece laid on one side, fell and landed on the ground one side to another, really hoof to hoof. Um, and then Yahweh passed through the middle of that. That was the culturally accepted way of writing a contract. And like I said a while ago, if one party fails to um, complete that contract, then that was what was to happen to the person that reneged on the contract. That they would be cut down the middle. They would be cut um, to death. But see, Yahweh, knowing that Abram couldn't fulfill his side of the contract, Yahweh put him to sleep, and Yahweh walked through the middle of the contract, making it a covenant. And so, something you can look into on your own. Let's go to Psalms chapter 16. Tehillim 16, verse 1 says, guard me, O El, for I have taken refuge in you. I have said to Yahweh, you are Yahweh. I have no good beside you. As for the set apart ones who are on the earth, they are excellent ones, in whom is all my delight. The sorrows of those who run after another are increased. I would not pour out their drink offerings of blood, nor take up their names on my lips. Yahweh is the portion of my inheritance, and my cup. You uphold my lot. Boundary lines have fallen to me in pleasant places. Indeed, a good inheritance is mine. I bless Yahweh, who has given me counsel. My kidneys also instruct me in the nights. I have set Yahweh always before me, because he is at my right hand, and I am not shaken. Therefore my heart was glad, and my esteem rejoices. My flesh also dwells in safety, for you do not leave my being in Sheol, neither let your loving committed one see corruption. You show me the path of life. In your presence is joy to satisfaction. At your right hand are pleasures forever. Well, it don't seem like too many people are worried about the shelter in place thing, does it? I'm sitting here at our city park. Anyway, Proverbs 31. Mishle 31. If you are just joining this channel and this is your first time hearing me, I know some of the words that I use may not be accustomed to what you're used to. Yahweh being God, Elohim being Lord, and Yeshua being Jesus. I read from the Scriptures version of the Bible. So if you hear that, that's what it means. And welcome, and thank you for joining us this morning. Proverbs 21, or Hebrew for Proverbs is Mishle 31. Verse 1 says, "The words of sovereign Lemuel, a message which his mother taught him. What my chosen, and what chosen of my womb, and what chosen of my vows? Do not give your strength to women, nor your ways to wiping away sovereigns. Not for sovereigns, O Lemuel, not for sovereigns to drink wine, not for princes to desire strong drink, lest they drink and forget what is inscribed, and pervert the right of all the afflicted. Give strong drink to him who is perishing, and wine to those embittered in being. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his trouble no more. Open your mouth for the dumb in the cause of all the sons of the departed. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and the needy. Who does find a virtuous woman? For she is worth far more than rubies. The heart of her husband shall trust her, and he has no lack of gain. She shall do him good and not evil all the days of her life." I'm blessed that I have found that virtuous woman, my beautiful love. I love her only because Yahweh showed me to love her. Verse 13, um, and Yahweh showed her to love me back. Verse 13, "She shall seek wool and flax, and with delight she works with her hands. She shall be as the ships of the merchant. She brings in her food from afar. She rises while it is still night and provides food for her household, and what is lawful for her girls. She shall consider a field and buy it. From her profit she shall plant a vineyard. She shall gird herself with strength and strengthen her arms. She shall taste when her grain is good. Her lamp does not go out by night. She shall stretch out her hands to the distaff, and her hand shall hold the spindle. She shall extend her hand to the poor, and she shall reach out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is dressed in scarlet. She shall make tapestry for herself, and she is dressed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She shall make fine linen and sell them, and shall give girdles for the merchants. Strength and splendor are her garments, and she rejoices in time to come. She shall open her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is the Torah of her loving commitment. She watches over the ways of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband too, and he praises her. Many daughters have done nobly, but you have risen over them all. Loveliness is deceptive, and prettiness is vain. A woman who fears Yahweh is to be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. Now remember, Proverbs, when it speaks of a woman, it usually is speaking of wisdom, the church, and a physical woman. Well, there is no lack of traffic out here. We will be in Matityahu, chapter 15, Matthew 15. Then there came to Yeshua scribes and Pharisees from Jerusalem, saying, "Why do your taught ones transgress the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread." Remember how I said that a lot of times our reading will coincide with our day, maybe our week. Wash your hands. I guess many people are just learning since COVID-19 showed up that it's necessary to wash your hands. Now, let's translate that back to scriptures. Jesus, this traffic is terrible. Roll up the window. I just want to get a little air. All right, translating, washing your hands back to the scriptures here. Um, it was man-made tradition to wash your hands before you ate. That was a tradition that they had turned into a commandment, and so they're getting on to Jesus here for his taught one. Now these are, as I spoke of in the message Yahweh gave me this past week to the congregation. These men are like us out here in the oil field. They're rough and tough, and a lot of times out on the rig, I would just grab a sandwich out of my lunchbox. I may have grease on my hands or whatever, and just get me a quick bite to eat. Well, that's what these guys are used to doing. These aren't um, men who walk around in beautiful clothing all day long to be seen by men. These were working men. And so their habit probably wasn't to wash their hands over and over again like the Pharisees. And so anyway, but Jesus answered and said to them, why do you also trust the command of Elohim because of your tradition? For Elohim has commanded, saying, respect your father and your mother, and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. Now our Proverbs kind of coincides with that. If you go back and look at the first few verses of Proverb 31 today, something to study. Well, you say, whoever says to his father or mother, whatever profit you might have received from me has been dedicated, is certainly released from respecting his father or mother. So you have nullified the command of Elohim by your tradition. Hypocrites! Yeshayahu rightly prophesied, saying, which is Isaiah, these people draw near to me with their mouth and respect me with their lips, but their heart, it is far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching the commands of men. That is in Isaiah 29, verse 13. And calling the crowd near, he said to them, hear and understand. Not that which goes in the mouth defiles the man, but that which comes out of the mouth, that defiles the man. Then his taught ones came and said to him, do you know that the Pharisees stumbled when they heard this word? I can see Peter coming up to Jesus. He's like, man, dude, you just blew their mind. You tripped them all up. Verse 13, but he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be uprooted. Goes back to the parable of the wheat and the tares. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Leave them alone. They are blind, leaders of the blind, and the blind leads the blind, and both fall in the ditch. And Peter answered and said to him, explain this parable to us. And Yeshua said, are you also still without understanding? Come on, wake up, Peter. You've been following me for a minute now. You ought to get this one. Verse 17, do you not understand that whatever enters into the mouth goes into the stomach and is cast into the sewer? But what comes out of the mouth comes from the heart, and this defiles the man. All right, for everyone who is hearing right now, this has nothing to do with dietary laws. This is talking about heart. He's not saying, well, you can eat whatever you want. It's going into the sewer. That's not what he's saying here. He's saying he's dealing with the heart issue of man. For out of the heart come forth wicked reasonings, murders, adulteries, whorings, thefts, false witness, and slanders. These defile the man. But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile the man. And Yeshua went out from there and withdrew to the parts of Zor and Sidon. And see, a woman from Canaan came from the borders and cried out to him, saying, have compassion on me, O Master, son of David. My daughter is badly demon-possessed. But he did not answer her a word. And his taught ones came and asked him, saying, send her away, because she cries after us. And he answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came and was bowing to him, saying, Master, help me. He answered and said, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. But she said, Yes, master, for even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from the master's table. And Yeshua answered and said to her, O woman, your belief is great. Let it be as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that hour. And moving from there, Yeshua came toward the Sea of Galilee, and going up on the mountain, he was sitting there. And a large crowd came to him, having with them those who were lame, blind, dumb, crippled, and many others. And they laid them down at the feet of Yeshua, and he healed them. So that the crowd marveled when they saw the dumb speaking, the crippled well, and the lame walking, the blind seeing. And they praised the Elohim of Israel. And Yeshua, having called his taught ones near, said, I have compassion on the crowd, because they have now continued with me 3 days, and do not have whatever to eat. And I do not wish to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. And his taught one said to him, Where are we to get bread in the desert to satisfy such a large crowd? Yeshua said to them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7, and a few little fish. And he commanded the crowd to sit on the ground. Again, Jesus commands us to sit down. And taking the 7 loaves and the fish, giving thanks, he broke them and gave to his taught ones, and the taught ones to the crowd. And all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up what was left over of the broken pieces, 7 large baskets filled. And those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children. Okay, 4,000. Again, we're looking at 10, 15,000 people. And dismissing the crowd, he went into the boat and came to the borders of Magdala. Okay, that concludes this reading of our daily bread. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with the hanging with the prophets. I did that one at about 1 o'clock yesterday, and it did not upload till I think about 10, 11 o'clock last night. I don't know what's the issue. I don't know if it's the enemy. I don't know if it's Yahweh wanting me to see something there that I'm missing. Somebody here who is following me, John Aishi, I do appreciate you, brother, more than you know. Um, I don't know. Anytime something's going on like that, I like to look in and a little extra hard and see what God would maybe be trying to show me. It's not always the enemy coming against us. So, with that said, y'all be blessed, be encouraged, and always be frustrated in the Word. Go look this up. Don't contract out your faith to me, as my brother Bear says. Don't contract your faith out to anyone. Um, and I thank y'all all for being diligent who follow this channel daily. I pray that the Lord would find favor in each of y'all and each and every one of us who seek counsel in Him. And so, with that, uh, I give y'all praise, honor, and glory. I give Yahweh praise, honor, and glory in all things. Y'all be blessed until we read again. This is Oilfield Disciple.